Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to be going over another Warpath build. Yes, another. So this was a personal request from a viewer. They wanted me to see if I could get Eye of Reen Ignite Warpath working, and this is my result. So if we were to put this on a list of Warpath builds that were good, I would put it in the solid middle tier. The biggest issue this build has is it's forced to run dual wield to scale damage, which means that you take 15% increased damage instead of going for block, which does lead to some complications. You will take hits. You will get chunked damage wise. It is rather squishy, at least in comparison to other builds, and that's the sacrifice you make to make Ignite work. Now, why we're going dual wield is so that we can get the base critical strike chance on an axe, the Raider axe. We have about 10% coming from there, so we have 15% overall, and that allows us to scale crit. Why are we scaling crit as an Ignite build, you ask? Well, Eye of Reen gives us an Eye of Reen stack every single time we crit an enemy, which gives us 5% increased fire damage over time. And the reason why we're doing this is we can get up to about 40 Eye of Reen stacks, which is about 200% increased damage for free. And of course, obviously, the Eye of Reen itself giving us 200% increased Ignite chance. Now we're also utilizing the gloves here, the Ignite gloves, Malahin's Hubris, that converts all of your bleed chance to Ignite, as Paladin has a lot of bleed and Ignite sources, so being able to convert it all into fire damage is rather strong. Although, like I said, it's more of an issue of Ignite's base damage being so low that it makes it really hard to scale it, especially since the only access to Ignite effect we have is the Ignite boots, the fiery dragon shoes, which does complicate things. Yes, we are running about 4 uniques with this build. This is the most amount of uniques I've ever used on a build, and thankfully Paladin makes up for this thanks to its insane amount of resistance it has access to. This is only capable on Paladin because of that. We are using a Bleeding Heart for sustain, otherwise this build would not work because you would need a lot of leech. Like I said, there's a lot of things that make this build tick, and sadly it's just kind of the state of Ignite. But, it's able to do Empowered Monoliths, it kills Oribus fine, it's just a little squishy, so you need to play a little bit better. And, if all the issue of the build is just to get good, then, you know what you do? You just get good, right? So, other than that, we are just playing a normal Warpath setup with the global more damage inside the Warpath tree. We also have a shit ton of fire penetration. So, there is an idol called Fire Penetration with melee attacks, and this affects all of your melee attacks, including things that are non-fire. So, for instance, Warpath, if you trigger an Ignite with Warpath, it will give you the extra increased fire penetration, meaning it gives your Ignites a lot of penetration. And it's the only way to get Ignite to do a little bit of damage. Now, we are kind of a hybrid build thanks to the crit multi-scaling that Eye of Reen gives us. We deal a little bit of damage up front and a little bit of damage over time, and combined, it does give us enough damage to compete with Bleed. Now, obviously, like I said, this is a lot of work to put in just to make this work, but it's definitely a fun alternative when you want to try it. Now, one thing that would probably save the build is probably utilizing a Wings of Argentis, as our chest doesn't really give us anything except for a little bit of extra movement speed with the plus to Warpath, but we can definitely dump those and just run the haze from Wings of Argentis. Now, we also obviously get a little bit of HP, but like I said, just having a pair of wings would probably make up for the fact that you're dual wielding and you do pretty fine. I just don't have wings because I have been doing a lot of Argentis runs and have not seen a single pair of them. So, yeah, we're going to move on from that. With that being said, let's get into the build, shall we? Here we are in game with our Ignite Warpath Paladin here. It's just respect fireworks because I'm a little busy and I've been recording a few extra builds here and there. So, to get into the skills, we have Warpath. This is your stereotypical damage over time Warpath setup, as we're utilizing 5 points in Draining Assault to give us 75% more damage with ailments here. Also affects our crits as well, which is fine. 5 points into Unchained to get a -5 mana cost on Warpath's channel cost. 2 points travel into Iron Reach. 3 points into Whirling Blade travel, then 3 points into Unchained, so we can get it all the way down to 1 with utilizing an Inscribed Tablet. Now, we obviously have 3 points into Quicksilver Wind. I have a +1 Warpath chest. You can obviously dump the +1 to Warpath and just run a Wings of Argentus instead, which is what I would heavily suggest. And then you'd probably have a much tankier build, thankfully. But, I don't have wings. So, now, the second skill is we're actually utilizing Lunge. We're getting a lot of base crit from our weapon here, our Raider X. So look at our damage here. We have about 27%. We're at 61% here with this, and it allows us to crit enough to stack our Eye of Reen stacks, which gives us fire damage over time and additional crit multi-global. So that's very strong, and that's why we grab all the crit here as your stereotypical Lunge setup for Warpath. Now we're obviously utilizing Volatile Reversal. We take 2 points travel into Time Sap, 3 points into Warp Time for increased attack speed, 1 point into Time Loss Vitality to give us reduced cooldown so we can actually spam it, 1 point travel into Terminal Void Rift, 3 points into Dark Expanse, then 3 points into Harbinger of Dust, enemy increased damage taken, pretty staple for most Sentinel builds, then 1 point travel into Incipient Void Rift, so we have more Void Rifts, 3 point travel into Disintegration, then 3 points into Time Rifts, as this will give us an overall 90% more increased damage taken, which is a 90% more damage modifier. Absolutely insane for any kind of ailment build on Sentinel. Now, for our sigils, it's a very simple setup. We're actually utilizing 4 points into Empowering Sigils travel, 2 points into Decree of Flame travel, and then 5 points into Burning Sign to give us about 150% ignite chance when we have 120% while we have all of our sigils up. 1 point into Last Wish, so we summon sigils while we're clearing monoliths, so we don't have to worry about casting them unless we're killing a boss. 2 points travel to Iron Sigils. This is one of the biggest issues of the build, is not being able to stack much flat armor. I'm sure you could probably dump Mediation and probably dump some damage here and probably get a little bit more points into Iron Sigils. You get a little bit more armor, probably scale a little bit more armor, but as of the current state of the build, it's not really feasible. 4 points into Enduring Hope for the duration, so sigils last longer, then 1 point into Tetragram for the maximum sigils. Now for Holy Aura, it's a little bit different. 5 points into Shelter from the Storm for Ellie Res and Endurance. That gives us all the way up to 55, I think it's like 40% Ellie Res. 1 point into Moralizing Aura for the slow chance, so we still have enemies around us, because we're always around enemies. 2 points into Rise Devotion for a little bit of free ignite chance, very small amount, but it allows us to grab 2 points into Rise Fairy, which gives us 10% Fire Pen, which stacks on all of our other Fire Pen and actually gets doubled if we click Holy Aura for a few seconds. 4 points into Fanaticism for increased attack speed, obviously. 5 points into Burning Blows for increased fire damage, which is good for us as we want as much increased damage as possible to make up for the lack of base damage that Ignite has. Then 1 point into Flame Burst for even more Ignite procs, because this will take your global Ignite chance and apply it to enemies every 8 hits or 4 if you proc a Holy Aura, which is very easy to do thanks to the fact that our Warpath is only 1 mana cost, so it's very easy just to pop it and then pop Reversal. Now, other than that, that's pretty much it for the skills. Talking about passives here. So we take 7 points into Juggernaut, 8 points into Fearless, 5 points into Armor Clad to make up for the fact that we're dual wielding, so that we take 15% increased damage, which is a little sad. 4 points into Axe Thrower, which will actually multiply our ignites even more as we get an extra ignite every second, or however much our ignite chance is. 5 points into Blade Master for the increased attack speed. This is the only reason we're going dual wield, is because we can get the attack speed from the Raider Axe and the Eye of Reen as well, because it's a sword and an axe, which gives us an insane amount of increased attack speed, which makes up for the fact that we're dual wielding. Then 8 points into Abyssal Endurance to cap my res a little bit. I don't have the best gear on right now. And of course, so that we can get to Volatile Reversal. Then for Paladin, we take 8 points into Conviction for even more Fire Pen. 5 points into Defiance to cap our Ellie res just a little bit, because I don't have the best gear ever. Like I said, 1 point in Divine Bolt. This will take all of our global ignite chance and apply it to enemies as well again. Even more ignites per second. 10 points into Magissa Firebrand for even more melee ignite chance. 6 points into Flash of Brilliance for the HP. 10 points into Penance. We are converting all of our bleed chance into ignite chance thanks to Malin's Hubris. So this is just 200% increased ignite chance for us. Now for Forge Guard, we take 8 points into Weapons Mastery to give us a little bit of strength, which will scale our armor. Also gives us increased damage with Warpath. 1 point travel into Battle Hardened, 1 point travel into Peltist, then 4 points into Shield Breaker. So the node here, Axe Thrower, is actually giving us a bunch of physical and fire shred, being able to fire shred against single target to give us even more shred. 6 points into Guardian travel, so we can grab 10 points into Smelter's Wrath. I don't have all 10 points in there, but that's what you grab before you get level 100. And since that bleed chance is converted to ignite chance, is pretty much giving us a megaton of bleed and ignite chance at the same time. And that's pretty much it. Other nodes you could probably grab, or other things you could do. So you could probably end up grabbing this ignite chance here. It's just very expensive, takes like 11 points, and it's not that much. Probably go for Reverence of Duality as well for increased health. So you get a little bit more health. And that's pretty much it for the passives. Now for the gearing. For idle specifically, we are running the Fire Pen with melee attacks. This is your best in slot idle, ignite chance on hit, and Fire Pen on melee attacks. Grab 4 of these. Then we have a Fire Pen with melee attacks, 14%. You can either run this, or you can just run 2 hybrid HP idols instead on each side for even more HP, which will help you a lot more when you grab the Argentus instead. Now for the helmet, you want chance to bleed while wielding an axe, vitality, HP, and endurance. I just have a really shitty helmet here. Chance to bleed while wielding an axe is being converted into ignite thanks to Malin's Hubris, and we are equipping an axe. So if we are to look over here, look at our ignite chance, it is about 73%. You'll get rid of this. Oh, I guess Malin's Hubris doesn't show the ignite chance. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe that's a bug. Is there bleeds on the enemy? No, there's not. Okay, it's working. It just doesn't show on the sheet. Okay, just making sure. That made me think for a second. All right. And then for the chest, we're running Vitality, HP, and the plus to Warpath. Obviously, like I said, you could probably run an Argentus instead and do way better. Amulet, we're running a Bleeding Heart. That's the only way to get the fire damage leech in a convenient spot, as we could utilize the elemental gloves, but then we'd lose Malin's Hubris. So Bleeding Heart is definitely our best in slot for this build for when we want sustain. For a weapon, Raider Axe, we want melee critical strike chance, attack speed, ignite and bleed. The ignite and bleed are both ignite now because of Malin's Hubris. For Eye of Reen, I have a really cruddy Eye of Reen. You can get way better, 200% ignite on melee hit. You can get like a better stack of Reen's Ire as well. I just have a really bad one. I had to spend all my gold to gamble this because for some reason I was not picking them up. Then for a ring, we want crit chance, elemental damage over time, HP, and resistance. Same thing on the other side. For a belt, this is like literally the perfect belt for this build. I knew I'd finally find a use for this belt. Like T5 on both of these, T1 in the health, which is sad, but you know what? You get what you get. Malin's Hubris, obviously, for the gloves, so you can convert all of our bleed chance to ignite chance. Very essential for the build, otherwise we would not be able to scale that much ignite chance. Fiery Dragon Shoes, you use this on almost any ignite build thanks to the 35% increased ignite effect. Very, very important. I rolled a high roll on this one, which I'm very proud of. Although we do have like 200% increased fire res, you just kind of ignore it. It's just kind of, you have to deal with it. I don't know why this has so much fire res on it, but why not? Now on our relic, we get crit, elemental damage over time, resistance, and HP. Probably another resistance as well later on. And it's really strong, as it gives us the -3 mana cost of Warpath. That's pretty much it for the gearing today. That's it for the build today. This, like I said, this was a build, like a suggestion by a follower. I tried to do my best to make it as viable as possible. You can definitely do endgame with it, and you can definitely have fun. It is not like the best build ever, but it's definitely a different flavor of Warpath. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye!